believe you're thinking for yourself when you choose a political side, but what if I told you that your most fervent opinion was carefully planted in you without you noticing? What if the real battle isn't between left and right, but between those who think and those who merely react? There's a silent phenomenon happening at this very moment, an invisible epidemic that's eroding the foundation of our ability to make conscious decisions. I'm not talking about lack of education or information. We're drowning in information. I'm talking about something far more subtle and dangerous, something philosophers call functional stupidity. And before you get offended, take a deep breath, because all of us, absolutely all of us, including you and me, are victims of it at some level. Functional stupidity isn't about intelligence. It's about the systematic refusal to use our critical capacity even when we have it. It's choosing not to think when thinking becomes uncomfortable. It's accepting ready-made narratives because questioning requires energy, courage, and above all, the willingness to be wrong. Think about how many times you've shared a news story without reading beyond the headline. How many times you've defended a political position because your group defends it, not because you actually investigated the issue. How many times you've attacked someone from the opposite side without even trying to understand that person's argument. This isn't stupidity, it's cognitive laziness. And modern politics has discovered how to transform this laziness into power. Current political systems don't need dumb citizens. They need busy, anxious, and emotionally exhausted citizens. Smart people who simply don't have the time or energy to question. You see, the stupidity that shapes modern politics doesn't come from lack of intellectual capacity. It comes from information overload, from emotional overwhelm, from algorithmic manipulation that keeps us in comfortable bubbles where our beliefs are constantly validated. The ancient Greeks already knew this. Socrates wasn't sentenced to death for being ignorant, but for asking questions that made people uncomfortable. Athenian democracy, considered the cradle of Western politics, had a deep fear of one thing: uncontrolled critical thinking. Why? Because citizens who think too much are hard to govern. They ask inconvenient questions, challenge authorities, refuse simplistic narratives. Now fast forward 2,500 years, technology has changed, but human nature hasn't. Only now, instead of hemlock, we use algorithms. Instead of banishment, we use cancellation. And instead of debates in the agora, we have #wars, where nobody's really listening, just waiting for their turn to shout. The true genius of modern political manipulation lies in making you believe you're fighting for freedom while voluntarily surrendering your ability to think. Every time you reduce a complex debate to a meme, every time you transform a political adversary into a monster without nuance, every time you choose quick outrage over slow reflection, you're participating in your own intellectual enslavement. And here's the part that hurts. It feels good. The dopamine of social validation, the tribal pleasure of being on the right side, the instant satisfaction of an easy answer to a complicated problem. Our brains are addicted to simplicity in a world that demands complexity. But there's something even deeper happening here, something we need to understand before we continue. The question few people ask is this: who benefits from our refusal to think critically? If you've made it this far and something inside you has started to stir, to question, to feel that discomfort that comes before all real transformation, then you're already waking up. And I need you to stay with me, because what comes next will change how you see every news story, every debate, every election. If this journey is resonating with you, subscribe now, because you won't want to miss what I'm about to reveal. Let's be honest with each other for a moment. How many times have you found yourself defending a political position tooth and nail, feeling that absolute certainty, that unshakable conviction, only to years later look back and think, how could I have believed that? There's no shame in admitting this. It's growth. The problem isn't changing your mind. The problem is never questioning the opinion you have now. There's an illusion we all carry, the illusion that we're the only ones immune to manipulation. Propaganda works on others, but not on me. Confirmation bias affects other people, but I'm objective. False narratives deceive the masses, but I see through them. And this illusion, this cognitive arrogance, is precisely what makes us most vulnerable. Think about the last heated political debate you witnessed or participated in. Maybe on social media, maybe at a family dinner. Notice how both sides were absolutely certain they were right. Notice how both accused the other of being manipulated, misinformed, blind. Notice how nobody changed their mind. Now, here's the question nobody asks. If both sides are so convinced they're right and the other is wrong, what does that say about the nature of political truth? Maybe, just maybe, the real stupidity isn't being on the wrong side, but believing there's a side that holds all the truth. Modern politics sells us a dangerous lie. The idea that complex issues have simple answers and that these answers align perfectly with our team's ideology. Right or left, conservative or progressive, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you choose one and defend it to the death, even when it's wrong. But you know what's scarier? We know this. Deep down, somewhere in our consciousness, we know we're being manipulated. We know our news sources have biases. We know politicians lie. We know the truth is more complicated than slogans suggest. And yet, we choose not to think about it. Why? Because thinking critically is exhausting. It's easier to let the algorithm decide what you should see. It's more comfortable to follow the herd. It's safer not to question your group's consensus. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who resisted Nazism and paid with his life, wrote something profound about this. He said that stupidity is a more dangerous enemy than evil. Because against evil you can protest, you can use force, you can resist. But against stupidity, you're powerless. Arguments don't work. Facts don't matter. The stupid person isn't wrong from lack of information. They're wrong by choice, by refusal to engage with reality. And here's where things get really interesting. Bonhoeffer wasn't talking about lack of intelligence. He was talking about a choice, the choice to turn off critical thinking. And he noticed something crucial. This isn't an individual failure. It's a social phenomenon. People become stupid when they're part of groups that reward conformity and punish questioning. And modern politics is a machine perfectly designed to create exactly this kind of collective stupidity. But here's the good news, and please pay attention because this is important. The simple fact that you're here now, listening to this, already means some part of you doesn't want to be stupid. Some part of you is tired of being manipulated. Some part of you wants to think for yourself. And that part, however small it seems, is where transformation begins. So how do we get out of this? How do we stop being pawns in a game we don't even fully understand? The answer isn't in choosing the right political side, because both sides play the same game. The answer is in completely changing how you think about politics. First, accept uncertainty. I know this is hard. We live in a culture that demands strong opinions about everything. But the truth is, most political issues don't have obvious answers. Economics, public health, foreign policy, these are genuinely complex questions where intelligent and well-intentioned people disagree. And it's okay not to have absolute certainty. In fact, uncertainty is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. Second, diversify your sources. And I'm not talking about reading one left-wing site and one right-wing site. I'm talking about getting out of your bubble completely. Read history, study philosophy, understand economics for real, not just economic slogans. Talk to real people who think differently from you, not to convert them, but to genuinely understand. You'll be surprised to discover that most people, regardless of political position, want the same basic things: security, dignity, opportunity for their children. The difference is in strategies, not fundamental values. Third, and this is crucial, Learn to recognize emotional manipulation. Whenever a news story, a politician, or a commentator makes you feel instant anger, stop, breathe. Ask yourself, why does this person want me to feel this right now? What's the purpose of this emotion? Anger makes us stupid. Fear makes us stupid. Moral outrage makes us stupid. Not because these emotions are bad, but because they shut down our ability to think critically, and modern political systems are fueled by these emotions. They need you angry to keep your attention. They need you scared to accept authoritarian solutions. They need you outraged so you don't notice the contradictions. Fourth, ask better questions. Instead of asking who's right, ask what's at stake. Instead of asking who to blame, ask which systems are failing. Instead of asking which side to choose, ask what information you still don't have. Good questions are more valuable than easy answers. Socrates knew this. He didn't have all the answers, but he had all the right questions. And it was these questions that made him dangerous to the status quo. But there's an even deeper secret that few know. Something that might sound like conspiracy theory, but is simply careful observation of reality. The modern political system doesn't want you to be smart, but it also doesn't want you to be too dumb. There's a sweet spot, a comfort zone, where you're smart enough to function in society, to have a job, to pay taxes, but not smart enough to question fundamental power structures. You're educated enough to vote, but not educated enough to understand how power really works. You have access to infinite information, but don't have the time or energy to process it critically. And this is no accident. Look at the education system. It teaches you to memorize facts, to pass tests, to obey schedules and authority. But does it teach you to think critically, to question narratives, to recognize propaganda, to evaluate sources, to tolerate ambiguity? Rarely. Look at the media. It gives you information in small chunks, designed for quick consumption, headlines that provoke emotion, not reflection, debates that are spectacles, not dialogues, analysis that confirms what you already believe, not that challenges your thinking. And look at social media platforms. They're designed to maximize engagement, not understanding, to create tribes, not communities, to generate conflict, not consensus. Because conflict generates clicks, and clicks generate money. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Political stupidity isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's a designed characteristic. Because truly critical, truly informed, truly independent thinking citizens are ungovernable. They don't accept simple solutions to complex problems. They don't follow leaders blindly. They don't choose tribes over truth. And that's terrifying to any power structure that depends on obedience and conformity. But here's where the story gets hopeful. You're not alone in this realization. Millions of people around the world are waking up to this reality. They're tired of polarization, tired of manipulation, tired of choosing between two equally simplistic narratives. And when enough people wake up, when a critical number of individuals decide to stop playing the game changes. Power structures only work because we consent, consciously or unconsciously. The moment we withdraw that consent, the moment we refuse to participate in collective stupidity, everything changes. This doesn't mean becoming apolitical. It doesn't mean withdrawing from society. It means engaging more intelligently, more consciously, more critically. It means voting with understanding, not emotion. It means supporting policies, not personalities. It means building coalitions based on shared goals, not tribal identities. It means being the adult in the room who refuses to participate in childish fights. The journey out of political stupidity is lonely at first. Your friends will find you radical or confused. Your family might question your loyalty. Your algorithm will try to pull you back into the comfortable bubble. But persist, because on the other side of this journey exists something precious. Your mind back. Your intellectual autonomy restored. Your dignity as a thinking being recovered. And that, my friend, is real freedom. Modern politics shaped by stupidity only works if you participate. The moment you choose to think, question, investigate, you become free. And free people are contagious. They inspire others to question. They create waves of consciousness. They change cultures. Not quickly, not dramatically, but persistently, inevitably. So here's my last question for you, and let it echo in your mind after this video ends. If you knew that your strongest political opinion was planted in you by systems you don't even see, would you have the courage to question it? This isn't a rhetorical question. It's an invitation to real self-investigation, because in the end, the only thing that separates a free thinker from a stupid person isn't intelligence, education, or information. It's courage. Courage to be wrong. Courage to change your mind. Courage to be uncomfortable with uncertainty. Courage to think when everyone around you just reacts. This video doesn't have all the answers, and it shouldn't, but I hope it planted questions. Questions that bother you, that make you question, that take you off political autopilot. Because at the end of the day, it's not about which side you choose. It's about whether you're really choosing or just repeating. It's about whether you're thinking or just echoing. It's about whether you're intellectually alive or dead inside while your body votes. Stupidity shapes modern politics, yes, but it doesn't have to shape yours. You have power. More than you imagine. The power to pause, breathe and think. The power to question narratives, including your own. The power to be inconvenient, uncomfortable, ungovernable through critical thinking. Use that power. Don't let it atrophy. Because a world where everyone thinks critically might seem like an impossible dream, but it starts with one person at a time deciding to wake up. If this video moved you, if it planted seeds of questioning, like it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Comment your reflection. Let's create a community of people who think, not just react. Subscribe to the channel, because the journey to free thinking is long, and you'll need company. And remember, in a world that profits from your stupidity, thinking is a revolutionary act. Be the revolution.